Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is me, Fatima. This is Wali. I am a student of Rehan AI Teachers Training Institute based 22. So today I'm going to discuss a very important topic with SASME, that is the role of creativity and problem solving. So today we will learn about this topic. So let's start.
Hey, how's your Sunday morning going?
Hello Maya.
Hey, what's on your mind today?
So
I'm sorry,
today
I didn't quite catch that.
I wanna learn about the topic is the role of creativity in problem solving.
That's a cool topic. I'm assuming you mean problem solving? If so, it's basically the difference between just following a manual and actually finding a shortcut no one else saw. Where do you want to start?
So my first question is this: what does creativity mean to you in problem solving?
Um, it's like looking at a problem and refusing to accept that the first most common solution is the only one. It's more about curiosity and connecting two things that don't seem to belong together to find a way through. Does that make sense, or do you see it differently?
Why is creativity important when facing difficult challenges?
Because when a challenge is actually difficult, it usually means the standard tools don't work. If the textbook answer worked, it wouldn't be a difficult challenge, right?
Yep.
Creativity is what lets you pivot when you hit a wall, so you don't just get stuck. Have you ever felt like you were hitting a wall with a problem lately?
No. Can every problem be solved creatively or some purely logical?
Some things are definitely just logic. If you're doing a math equation or assembling IKEA furniture, you don't really need to be creative. You just need to follow the rules and the steps. But even then, if a piece is missing or the instructions are wrong, that's when you have to switch over to creativity to fix it.
Okay. How do you usually come up with creative solutions?
I usually start by questioning the rules of the problem. I ask myself, what am I assuming is true here that might actually not be? I also like to imagine the most ridiculous, impossible solution first. Sometimes that absurdity points you toward a real, practical idea that you would have ignored if you were just being logical.
Okay. Do you think creativity is a natural skill or it can be learned?
I think it's a bit of both, but mostly a muscle. Some people are born with a natural curiosity, sure, but creativity is really just a way of thinking. You can absolutely learn it by practicing how to look at things from different angles. It's more about giving yourself permission to be wrong than having some magic gift.
What is the first step in thinking creatively about a problem?
The first step is just to slow down and really look at the problem. Most of us jump straight to the answer, but the trick is to spend more time defining the problem itself. If you can rephrase the question or look at it from a different angle, the solution usually becomes way more obvious.
Okay. How does imagination help in finding better solutions?
Imagination is like a sandbox. It lets you test out what if scenarios without any risk. You can simulate a dozen different outcomes in your head, which helps you spot potential flaws or hidden opportunities before you ever commit to a real world action. It's basically a low cost way to experiment.
Why blocks people from being creative in problem solving?
Usually it's fear of looking stupid, fear of failing, or just the pressure to be efficient. Society spends a lot of time teaching us the right way to do things, so we start boxing ourselves in because it feels safer to follow the rules than to risk being wrong.
Okay. How can school encourage creative thinking?
By rewarding the process more than the answer. Most schools just want the right result, which teaches kids to be afraid of mistakes. If they encouraged productive failure or gave assignments where there wasn't just one correct way to solve it, students would actually feel safe enough to be creative.
Do you think fear of failure affects creativity?
Absolutely. Fear of failure is the biggest killer of creativity. When you're terrified of being wrong, you only pick the safest, most boring options. You can't be truly creative if you're constantly editing yourself to make sure you don't make a mistake.
How important is brainstorming in creative problem solving?
It's huge, but only if it's done right. The value isn't in the first 10 ideas, those are usually the boring ones. The real magic happens when you use one person's wild idea to trigger a different, more practical thought in someone else. It's more like a game of catch than a meeting.
Okay, I don't understand what are you saying. So please tell me in simple words.
Basically, brainstorming is great because it's a team effort. Like one person says something a bit crazy, and that gives another person a great idea they wouldn't have thought of on their own. It's about building on each other's thoughts to find a better answer.
Okay, so can teamwork improve creativity?
Def can, but it's a double edged sword. Teamwork helps when people build on each other's ideas, but it can actually kill creativity if the group just tries to agree with everyone to avoid conflict. You need people who are willing to disagree to really get the best ideas.
Okay, so what role does curiosity play in solving problem creatively?
Curiosity is basically the engine. It's what makes you ask, why is it like this? Or what happens if I change this one thing? Without curiosity, you just accept the problem as it is. With it, you start digging. And that's where the creative solutions are actually hiding.
Okay, what habits help improve creative thinking?
One big one is just consuming things outside your usual bubble. Read a book on a topic you know nothing about, listen to a weird genre of music, or talk to someone with a completely different life experience. The more random pieces of information you have in your head, the easier it is to connect them in creative ways.
Okay, do deadlines help or limit creativity?
It's a mix. A little bit of pressure can actually be a catalyst. It forces you to stop overthinking and just commit to an idea. But if the deadline is too tight, it creates panic. And when you're in panic mode, your brain just grabs the safest, most obvious answer. So, a deadline can push you to finish, but too much of it kills the exploration.
Okay, so can creative make simple solutions more effective?
Yeah, absolutely. Often the most creative solution isn't the most complex one, it's the simplest one that everyone else overlooked. Creativity is what lets you strip away all the noise and find a direct, elegant way to solve a problem that actually works better than a complicated plan.
Okay, so tell me what's the difference between critical thinking and creative thinking?
Creative thinking is about expanding, it's generating new ideas, and exploring a bunch of different possibilities. Critical thinking is about narrowing, it's analyzing those ideas, testing them, and deciding which one actually works. You basically need creative thinking to find the options, and critical thinking to pick the winner.
Okay, so can pressure increase or decrease creativity?
Like I mentioned with deadlines, it's a bell curve. A little bit of pressure can actually wake your brain up and get you focused. But once it crosses a certain line into high stress, your brain switches to survival mode. In that state, you stop taking risks and just play it safe, which is the opposite of being creative.
Okay, my last question. How does experience affect creativity?
The trade off. Experience is great because it gives you a huge library of tools and patterns to draw from. The downside is that you can get too comfortable with the way things have always been done. The real trick is having the experience to know how things work, but keeping the mindset of a beginner so you're still willing to break the rules.
Okay, thank you, Maya.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your.
So that's all about the conversation. I hope you learned something new in this conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. Allah Hafiz.